Awe, omanga de she ni Abrabɔ, ye mamu nyina transe mama bareba Abrabɔ Fapempong dwumadi so. Moni tia de da se dwumadi ne botai nyina ne se ebebo a okrate asefo biara watu no ho asi ho. So obema no kwantrodo ne odokan afa no mu akwani asahoro nyinara so. Midin de Fapempong. Na ene yesi ye pe no kware ate. Na ye beti ate ni oni ho de. Ye twa ye ho ba. Ye ni Amarkine Amarteifio na reba ba hwehwe nkomo wa Abrabɔ Fapempong dwumadi so. Wontwe ye ba. Yeah, omanga de say emomo akwaba. Me ye back here. Oh, very good. Omanga de say ono ne kasa o kapa ye brofo ne nkran. Na me so me kasa me ka ye twi pe. Nti ye hie mu na say na me limitations do so. E be hwe na ye betumi de aye brofo. In your own small way, what does ni Amarkine Amarteifio means? Do you have some appellations? Let's know more about the name first.
Well, yes. Anybody who is a Ga knows that we Gas have a particular naming system.
Sure.
So, just by mentioning my name, Amarkine, everybody who knows our culture knows that I am the second boy within the family, within the Amarteifio family. I come from Amarteifio. Okay. Our family house is at Asne, which is in central Accra, Buku. Okay. That's where I come from. Wow. And my name, Amarkine, has appellations.
Let's know.
The popular one people know is Achiampong. But
Achiampong, which is my surname.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and then the other appellations that go with it is Ni Chenchuche, Dade Awali, Samfle Pumpu.
Wow. Wow, they say you could room for you near Persia. So, who exactly in your own words is ni Amarkine Amarteifio, and what is your mission in life?
Well, to cut a long story short, I have come here to make the world better, to contribute in my own way through my talents and my way of looking at life, to contribute to what everybody knows and calls life. Okay. So basically, that's what I have been doing it as an artist. As a poet, and I do sculpture, and I as a writer as well. So this is, in my own small way, how I have come to make life better, to contribute to making life better for all of us.
Very good.
And my work as an artist, basically, art encompasses a whole lot of things. But simply put, art, my role as an artist in society is to help people see things differently, or to shift perspectives. Sure. To show people that there are as many as 360 ways of looking at any and everything. Even this life. There are alternative ways of looking at life, other than what we have always been, told it is. So I cite this example just to say that there is just not a single way of looking at life. There are countless ways of looking at life, and so I personally, what I do is that I look at life from my personal experience. From my immediate experience of life, and not the secondary experiences that others have, taught me to embrace. So my life is what goes on in my life.
Wow. Yeah. So, for how long have you been in the arts industry professionally?
I would say that as far as I can remember as a kid, I have had this passion for art, which as a kid would manifest in simple drawings and scribbling and doing things with my hands and stuff like that. So
I read somewhere that in your childhood you were referred to as the artist.
Yes. Let me correct something.
Okay.
When I was growing up, I didn't know what the word artist meant. Okay. All I knew was that I was drawing, and I enjoyed it, and I was making things with my hands, like using clay, using coconut husk, and many any and everything I found within the environment, I worked with it, and I was very good at drawing. So I was always drawing and doing stuff like that. When I went to school, people called me the artist. I didn't know what that meant. Over time, I got to understand it. That, people who did things the way I did were called artists. And so that was my first time. And even that, as a child, it didn't register that big because, I mean, I didn't care about labels. I cared about living my life and being happy, or being myself and expressing myself in my own unique way. It was much later that I got to understand what all that meant. I mean, like when people called me the artist, I came to understand what it meant. Initially, I thought it was like somebody who could draw very well, but having grown up, I realized that it encompasses just more than that. Yes.
What are some of these things that are more than what?
Basically, I would say that art deals with anything at all, any idea we have of making life better or improving upon life. That is basically, the basic meaning of art. So you realize that, looking at it from that point of view, every human being is an artist in one way or the other. From engineering, from like scientists, from anything anybody does, especially which is born out of the desire to improve life or to make life better or to make us see things another way. It's inspired by what we call art. So you realize that art is a way of, art is a certain natural endowment we all have to making our lives better.
So it has no limitation.
It has no limitation. So you can find medical doctors who are artistic in their approach to work. You can find writers who are artistic in their approach to work, or scientists or musicians. And what I predominantly do with color as an artist or a painter, musicians do with sound.
Sure.
So they combine sounds in a particular way to project a certain song that will make all of us say, oh wow, how could any human being do this? And then writers do with words, or poets do with words. So basically, art is a way of life. It's a way we make meaning out of our lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it means you've been an artist from your childhood.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
but professionally, as if you are to talk professionally from the point of the time you started making money.
I started making money in arts, even when I was a student.
Wow.
I remember in secondary school, I was so determined to have an exhibition.
Okay.
So I was working, and then occasionally I'll do portraits. I started with portraits, like drawing some of my mates or painting some of my friends.
Okay.
And that brought me a lot of money.
Okay.
And then before I went to the university, I was able to have my first exhibition during my national service time.
Wow.
So I had my first exhibition at the British Council Hall, and I did 33 paintings and 11 sculptures.
So do you remember the year?
This was in 1980, between 84 and 85. Yeah.
Wow.
84. It was in September. I remember the month very well.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in 84, 85.
I was crawling.
and let me tell you something very funny.
Yeah.
At the exhibition, I invited the Ghanaian painter Bartimius and then Sakakwe. Okay. And then I remember journalists asking me questions, and they were asking me like what was my theme, and I didn't know how to answer any of those things. Yes. I was not. All I cared to do was to paint and to master painting. I didn't know about the theories and all the history of art and things like that. All I cared was ability to paint and draw.
It's very natural.
Exactly, very natural, untutored. And there was a point in time that even I had friends who told me, why do you bother to go to tech when you are doing what tech people could not even do? But at a point, I bought into that idea and decided not to further my education.
Okay.
But my father insisted that I went, so go I did, and it has paid off. My view of art became broadened, and I had the opportunity to learn from other colleagues, that's the advantage of peer collaboration. You rub off on each other in terms of your ideas and your approach to life and art and everything. So that was really helpful.
Okay.
But I still maintained that initial desire to be an artist. So unlike some friends who after school went into other fields of studies or diverted their professions into other things, I maintained that I would be an artist. And to tell you the truth, is the greatest thing. I mean, it's the best thing I know how to, and it's the most fulfilling job I ever could do.
That's very good. Can you take us back to your educational processes in terms of?
Okay. Yeah. I went to Accra High School.
No, before you went to Accra High School, your crèche.
Oh my goodness! Okay, that's so many years ago.
Okay.
So many years ago.
Yeah.
I went to. I remember very well. I went to Kukumembe 2 primary school. We call it K2PS.
Okay.
It was near A&T.
Okay.
And then the Banku school. There was a place. There's a school called the Banku school.
Okay.
You know, so that's where I went. K2PS, and then from there I went to Harrow International School.
Okay.
And then after the common entrance, I went to Accra High School. From Accra High School, I went to Tech. You know, and did my first degree in art and did my master's in art. Yes. You know, and after many years away from academic work, like professionally painting, I went back to school again to do my PhD. So I'm in the final year of my PhD studies at Institute of African Studies, Lagos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you cool?
Yeah.
Anyway, so what would you say are your cardinal principles that drive you in life, apart from the fact that you are here to make life better in your own small way?
Well, what I have noticed is that you are born into a society that is so bent on telling you what to do. I mean, everybody is telling you what to do, how to lead a successful life, how to be this, how to be that. In fact, people even take it upon themselves to prescribe what you must eat. You know, foods that are good for you. You know, everybody is doing that.
Yes.
But for me, I realized that being an artist gives me all the skills and the tools to live life on my terms. Because life starts from the ideas you have within you, the ideas that are born within you. Because the individual is supposed to be the most intimate, to have the most intimate connection to his life, and not another person. So artists, or let me speak personally, I have been so much in touch with my connection to life, and that is what I prioritize, and I would encourage other people to do that. That in the midst of living in the community or in a society where everybody is telling you prescribing to you the ideal life, you should live life on your terms by getting in touch with your very soul. What is it that drives you? What is it that makes you happy? What makes you gravitate towards this and not that? What makes you principally happy? You know, because basically for any and everything each of us are doing, the bottom line is we all are doing things that we think and believe will make us happy and fulfilled. And this is the most important thing about life. I mean, to sum it all in one word, life is the pursuit of happiness, or the realization of happiness. Do things that make you happy. If it doesn't make you happy, it's not worth it.
Wow.
And I have come to a point in my life where I say that the day I die will be the happiest day in my life, because I will look back at my life and realize that there isn't a single moment that slipped through my fingers.
Wow.
You understand? Because I believe in living every moment of my life being happy. Being happy all the time.
Yeah.
If I'm not happy, I don't make a big deal out of it. And a lot of the times, I make my days the days before. Sort of like, I try to project the kind of life I want for myself. And then I am in charge of it. Occasionally, I don't get it right, but I don't make a deal out of it. Yeah. Because I am the one,
the driver.
I am the driver. And I don't strive for perfection, I strive for progress.
You're competing with yourself.
I'm competing with myself. And the most important thing for me is that once you understand life, you realize that you are here to grow from being stupid to being wise. And it's okay.
Yeah.
All of us are bound to make mistakes in the pursuit and progress of our lives. And it's part of the journey.
Sure.
Because if you ever met, if you should meet a wise man, any wise man has a whole history of folly behind him.
Sure.
And that's the most important thing. We are not here to get it right. We are here to be happy in the process. We make mistakes and we move on. Exactly. So forget about those who try to tell us that there's a headmaster somewhere monitoring our lives and like he has a marking scheme and I used to pay attention to all those things, but I quit that school long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there something you wish you had achieved at this time that you've not been able to, or has not materialized yet?
Oh, the most important thing for me at this time is that I'm very happy.
Okay.
I'm very happy where I am. I'm very happy with my life. I'm very happy with, my family. I'm very happy with the friends I have. I'm very happy with everything. I am able to dream and make that dream a reality anytime I want. And that for me is the most important thing.
Does art pays in Ghana?
Oh, yes. If we are talking about financial remuneration, yes, it does. And it has been very good for me.
Okay.
But beyond the finances, there is also the emotional and psychological reward.
Okay.
I've had conversations with people who have told me that, Amarkine, you know what? I'll have to be on drugs to feel the way you do when you are painting.
That's serious.
Exactly. That is to say that the way we artists feel about our work,
Sure.
like the process of making a painting, and even after you have painted, you put your work back. You go back and you look at your work and you wonder, did I do this, or somebody else did it? And if you were asked to do that again, will you be able to do it?
Very serious.
So it gives me the first-hand feeling of, it's like awe. I'm in awe at my ability to do this. And I personally believe that, art is very much akin to what people call channeling.
Okay.
Channeling.
Sure.
Like sometimes you go back 5 years ago and read something you wrote, and you ask myself, did I really write this, or somebody else wrote it? Exactly. The same with art. You go back and look through your paintings and you're like, wow, how did I do this? What came over me to make me, be able to do that? And that is so therapeutic. It's like you marvel at your own creativity. Yes. So this is one of the greatest rewards. It's so therapeutic for an artist. And the kind of feeling you get from it is what some people describe as, like, some people need to be on drugs to feel that high.
Sure.
But luckily and fortunately for me, I'm in touch with that part of my soul that is able to elevate myself above the mundane.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, since you mentioned family, can you tell us more about your family too?
I have a wife and 3 kids.
Wow.
My wife is Dr. Patricia Amarteifio.
Wow.
And my first son is Amarteifio. He's a lawyer by profession.
Wow.
And then my second is Amarteifio. She's an architect by profession. And the last one is Amarteifio. He studied engineering and he just completed Ashesi University. Yeah.
Wow. That's very deep. What will you say about, in terms of some of the difficulties you've been through as an artist in Ghana?
Okay. I remember very well in 84 or 85 there. Yeah, I think it's in 84.
Yeah.
When I had my first exhibition, I did 33 paintings and 11 sculptures, and I invited the general public, and I didn't make any sales. Most of the people who came were, are you sure you did this painting? Are you sure you did this? They were marveled, and that was very encouraging. But as to the financial rewards that come from, like, they buying stuff, I didn't sell any of the paintings. Much later on, I came to appreciate the fact that A good exhibition is not the only one where you make sales. For me, a good exhibition is one that you showcase your talent to the world. And people who come to, for people to come and enjoy what you have to share or your contribution to life. Much later, if they have money or whatever, they may buy or they may not buy, or they may recommend you to other people. And that, for me, has proved to be very rewarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
From your experience, where have we as Africans or as a race gone wrong?
Well, first and foremost, historically, we have been educated away from our culture. And that's what some people teach to us. Of course, the full story is that they did that to us with our connivance, with the connivance of some people among us. We are traitors among us. Yeah. I mean, because it was an economic enterprise. People were buying because people were selling. So the slave trade. The slave trade happened to us. It's one of the darkest chapters in our history. And then there was a period of legitimate trade, which led gradually into colonialism. And then colonialism, we were told, was uninstalled. When we got independence, across Africa, and things like that. But by then, by the time of independence, so much harm has been done to Africans that would take thousands of years to undo. And it seems to me, I may be wrong, that we have yet to realize this harm and take deliberate steps to undo it. Other people who were also colonized have taken dramatic steps to, undo their damage, but we do not seem to have, been aware. We sort of believed it when we were told that we had independence. We believed it so much, and we were also made to celebrate it annually. Reinforcing that belief year in, year out that we are independent. And it was a deliberate ploy to just, hoodwink us. It was a smoke screen. The real thing was still there.
Is it still there?
It's still there till today.
Okay.
It's still there till today. And, as I always say, the best war is one where you do not see your enemy. The best war is the one that your enemy convinces you has stopped. So you lose your guard. Oh, we are no longer fighting the white man. Oh, slavery has ended. Oh, colonialism has ended. Meanwhile, it is there. And it is more psychological. It's more psychological, but it has it has great effects on the people. So this is the state in which we are.
So what are the pillars of what you are talking about?
Oh, for example, I can talk about our governance system. I can talk about our educational system. I can talk about religion. I can talk about the structure of society. All these are structures of colonialism.
So let's start with the beginning. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay. For example, education.
Okay.
I said earlier on that
we were educated away from our culture.
Yes, we were educated away from our culture.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Sure.
We were made to become very suspicious, hostile, antagonistic to everything that is African. And in that place, we were made to embrace and love and cherish everything that is Western and Christian. And to that extent, we have been living apart and away from our true selves. Our entire structure as a society has been set up to benefit those who set it up this way. So, I say that Ghana is not broken. Ghana is not broken at all, let alone to be fixed. Ghana was constructed this way. Ghana was constructed this way. Many people think the country is broken. No, it's not broken. It was deliberately built this way. And those who built it enlisted most of us through the system of education to perpetuate the system. So we have become voluntary participants in our own oppression. And this is the system which is going on now. For example, this interview is in English. English is not my native language.
Neither is it mine.
Exactly, but we are communicating in it. Over time, we have owned it, nevertheless. But then, the harm which has been done to us is that when you speak to a man, as Nelson Mandela said, in the language he understands, you speak to his mind.
Sure.
But when you speak to him in his own native language, you speak to his heart and his soul. You understand? And this is where we are. And I think we have to take the bull by the horns and take drastic steps. Let's say we give ourselves, let's say, 20-year period to gradually phase out the English language and replace it with our local languages. And even with our local languages, we can also come up with a plan to evolve gradually where every Ghanaian could speak about 5 or 6 local languages by the time they are 20 years or 30 years. We should have a plan in place where every Ghanaian, by the age 30, you are able to speak Ga, Twi, at least five languages. And then we keep on to pursuing this program until such a time that a national language will, evolve. It could be Pidgin, which will be made up of elements of all these languages. Yes. In fact, English is a Pidgin.
Sure.
English language is a Pidgin. It's made up of English, it's made up of French, it's made up of Latin, it's made up of everywhere the English people went to colonize. They picked languages, elements of the local languages and put it together as English language. So we could do the same thing. You understand? So if we are determined to be free, or if we are aware that this is a problem, we'll take deliberate steps to end it. We can have short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans. You understand? So that you and I today will not be discussing the problems that our fathers faced. We would have made some progress. We should have made some progress. When I was in school, I was punished, or me and my mates were punished for speaking our own Ga language, or native language. Yes. We were punished for speaking, and our language was degraded to a vernacular. Yes. All in preference for English language. And in 2021, our own people are presiding over such a system. And that is the sad part. That's why I said earlier on that we have become willing participants in our own oppression. And it is simply because we did not study or interrogate how it was possible for some of our own people, together with other people who came from somewhere, collaborated to enslave and colonize us. We have not studied it. We have, the only time that we talk about these things is when probably an African or a black man is more treated in America or China or whatever. Then all of us get agitated. Oh, why should they be doing this to us? No. But the signs were there. All these early warning signals were there. But because we have not studied these things, we are blind to them. We only see it when it's fully fledged into a problem. But every problem has its beginning. Sure. Because we do not study it, we cannot identify it and nip it in the bud. Ask yourself, for example, could you go to America or England or wherever in the world and hear people discussing your local league?
No, they don't have.
On their television.
No.
But we do it here.
Sure.
And we all get happy about it. We all get excited about it. We are not even aware that this is a kind of colonialism. Sure. It's a perpetuation of a certain kind of colonialism. Because the more you like other people's culture other than your own, the less yours develop.
Sure. Sure.
And the more you like other people's culture other than your own, the more economic power you give them.
Sure.
So we are part of the system that has made America and the West a dominant power. We have been part of it willingly, to the extent that we do not embrace our own culture. We are doubtful. We debate the merits of our religion. We are suspicious of our religion because it won't take us to heaven.
Yes.
Because the white man, enslaved us with a certain notion of heaven, and I mean, to the point that we still keep doing this, it means we are enslaved.
Sure.
And one of the purposes of religion, is to take people's mind focus away from their current life, because life is not in the future, and the life in the past is gone. The most important aspect of life is what is happening to you now,
and
here and now,
sure.
here and now. But come religion. Religion emphasizes the hereafter. So where will you spend eternity when you die? Are you sure you go to heaven? And these are the things that take our minds away from what is here and now.
Okay.
So religion is like a cultural strategy of making people live in the future when their lives is here and now, so that when you succeed in making people focus so much on the hereafter, the here and now becomes left and available to those who brought in that strategy. Yeah.
Okay. What other pillar will you tackle again?
The system of government.
Okay.
By and large, our system of government, like this democracy we are practicing, is a kind of, I have called it an Okro Hill democracy.
Okay.
In Ghana, I would say it's like one called Emomi Gong. Emomi is Okro,
Sure.
Gong is hill or mountain. We have been climbing an Okro Hill for the past, since this democracy started. We've been going around in circles and spending a lot of money to buy more okra to pour on the hill so that we can slide to the base and rise again midway and slide back. So this is our democracy. In the first place, recent developments, with the current state of affairs in the country, you realize that if you look back into history, we are sort of reenacting the mid-1970s.
Okay.
All the events that happened in the 1970s, the kind of arrogance of people in power, the use of brute military force against civilians and students especially. I remember the Champon days, students were beaten, for going on demonstrations, and those days we called it aluta.
Yeah.
For going on aluta and all these. Students were students took a lot of part in protests against harsh economic realities of the day. The only difference is that between there and now is that back then there were no essential commodities. Okay. Now we have them, but people cannot afford because they are too expensive. That's the only difference. It's available today, but people can't afford. It wasn't available then, and there was hoarding and what we used to call kalabuli. People were just taking advantage of each other, and the government was not paying attention.
Okay.
The government was using military force to oppress the people, and the government was living large at the expense of the people. It went on and on and on and on, and one day, before we realized, Rawlings had made a coup.
Yeah.
That's what brought Rawlings.
Sure.
And Rawlings had popular support.
Sure.
They had popular support because the people were frustrated and aggrieved. And that for me is one of the most, it's one of the things we should be careful about.
Yes.
When the people of the country are aggrieved and when they are frustrated, they become like dry leaves. The slightest breeze will blow them. They become like dry leaves.
Sure.
When people in Ghana we say that
Yes, you don't beat a child and prevent him or her from crying.
What about it? These days, those days are creeping back. The military, like a lot of people condemn Rawlings for his extrajudicial killings, the military brutality, indiscipline, and terrorizing civilians. And now we replace all that with democracy. But it looks like our democracy is steadily growing a military wing.
Yes.
Made up of party faithfuls, vigilante groups who are put into the police service and the military and immigration and all these things.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Under the guise of creating employment for people.
The boys.
Yes, job for the boys. And what we have now is like Ghana Armed Forces or the police service in name, but in reality they are made up of party faithfuls. So a crime is being committed, let's say a political crime, and the police, who should be neutral, which should be a state institution, goes in and plays a partisan role.
Sure.
So now, after some time, the people of the country will know, are so much aware of these things that a time will come when the police speak. They know that it is not the police which is speaking. It is the party which is speaking in police uniform.
Yeah.
When the army speaks, they know that it is not the army. It is the party vigilante who is speaking in army uniform. We should prevent such a thing to happen. From happening. Yeah. We should prevent it. Yeah. If we want to hear the clear voice of the security services, that when a policeman speaks, we know it is a police that is speaking. When an army man speaks, we know it is an army man who is speaking. We should work towards this. We should not compromise their voices by political coloration, by politically, dumping party faithfuls in these services.
When you even put all this recruitment aspect aside, the IGP is appointed by the president, the chief of defense staff is appointed by the president, the judicial service, same. Do you think we truly have independent structures in terms of the branches of government?
Once again, I come back to the colonial structure of our government system. It is pretty still not colonial. Colonialism means that some people who do not have legitimacy, because they don't live here with us, they are not from us, they are not part of us, they have come from somewhere, and they want to rule us. So they have to use force. In fact, the police service used to be called the Ghana Police Force, which was established by the colonial administration. It was the wing of colonialism, using our own people to force us to obey rules and regulations that suited them.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Sure.
And we have not changed this system. Our own people, our own brothers and sisters, when they get into power, behave like they are not part of us. And so they have to use police and military to just the same way
inject fear.
Yes, to inject fear and panic into the people. But they are our own people. They don't have to do that. But because we have not decolonized the system, they are acting the same way the colonial master, who did not have legitimacy, would do. Okay. So why should people we vote for treat us this way?
Is there an alternative to democracy?
Yes. In fact, there are alternatives to everything.
Okay.
They are alternative to everything.
Okay, so
and Africans have their own, indigenous ways of ruling ourselves.
Yes.
Chieftaincy is one of them. In certain communities, there are also certain communities which are acephalous, which means there's no central this thing where these age set systems where peers take care of themselves and things like that, all the way to age set, where old people are also taking care of themselves. There are structures like that. But because, once again, I come back to this, we have been educated away from all these cultural elements indigenous to us. We are at a place where we seem clueless. We have long left home. We have long been swept away from home. That we are no longer enjoying the life that others have given us, and we seem not to even know our way back home.
Okay.
This is where we are. Okay. But once again, I come back to life as a primary experience of the individual. We should ask ourselves intimate, deep questions. how do we want, where are we going, and what is the best way to go. The democracy we are practicing now, in name, is supposed to be all-inclusive, but it is not. Over the, years of practicing it has shown us that the people we vote for constitute a totally different class who take care of their needs first than the people who voted them. NDC, NPP, they have proved to us, all the parties, those who have been entrusted with power, have demonstrated this to us. They have demonstrated this to us, that they come for their own selfish, interests. They come to, before they, hardly do they do things for their, for the people. And when it is elections, they will pretend they care for us. In fact, the street in front of my house, I remember in December, just a few days to the elections, I came home one night. Quickly, I saw people mounting, doing the street lights. I said, hey, I wish there were elections every week, And then some other places in my area, they've just done the roads. You understand?
So they knew that long ago.
They knew that long ago. But then, in less than a year, it's just a few months after elections, the street lights no longer work. All the roads they did in my neighborhood have potholes.
410.
You understand? So, people are watching these things. People are looking at these things. And it is informing them that the system of government we are practicing does not include all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say about spirituality in relation to religion?
Religion is what what other people tell you about God.
Yes.
It could be fairy tales, it could be stories, Nancy stories, or whatever. Carefully crafted to seem. It's like there's always an element of 419 in religion.
Okay.
I'm here with you. We have been born, we grow up and everything. Then suddenly somebody comes from somewhere and tells us that God says this and this and this. Show us this God. You say, oh, God is everywhere. If God is everywhere, he should be telling me himself or herself. Why should he tell another person to come and tell me that he has issues with me? So, religion is just hearsay. In Ghana, we say, ake. You understand? It's like, at the Satamo, it's like somebody's story which has been deified. Okay. God has been put in it and myth and sold to you. Okay. And it was sold to you at a time that you could not reason, you could not analyze when you were little. Catch them young. So they implanted it to you, and the commitment of your parents and your community and everything, yes. Made you get committed to it because your father could not be wrong. Your mother could not be wrong. This is titi. Your great-grandfather was part of it. He grew to be 70-year-old or 80 years. He could not be wrong. So because of all these people involved in it, it is good for you. There's something called pluralistic ignorance. Where, for example, you are in an association. Deep within you, there's something wrong with this association or with this group or church or whatever. Deep within you, there's something wrong. The next person also knows there's something wrong. Each individual knows that there's something wrong. But then all of you are committed. And so you look at my commitment and say, oh, the way I know Amarkine, he's a learned person, he's this, he can't be wrong.
He talks straight.
But you see, every Sunday he's here. He comes to teach Sunday school. The way I know Professor so and so, he's a big person, he's learned. Yes. He can't be wrong. Sure. Meanwhile, that professor who you think cannot be wrong also feels there's something wrong. And he looks at you. Oh, the way I know Fapempong. Oh, he can't be wrong. Yeah. So all of you, individually, there's something wrong. But collectively, you look at your appearances and your social status to judge and say that, oh no, this can't be wrong. Yeah. So all of you are right and all of you are wrong. And you are trapped in this kind of system. You are literally trapped in it, because you go to church in the morning and you see a minister of state. He's coming there. He's teaching Sunday school. Say, hey, Charlie, he can't be wrong.
Yes.
Meanwhile, he also knows there's something wrong.
Okay.
But he looks at this lady, a respectable lady. She's committed. So these are the things that is keeping us in our various religions. Yet spirituality is that which tells you individually, deep within you, that this thing does not feel good. But you are socialized to ignore your inner voice.
Wow.
You see, all of us have been socialized to ignore our inner voice, or to the inner whispers that tells you that do this, do this, do this. Listen to yourself.
There's still small voice.
There's still small voice within you. We have all been educated away from our inner voice, and that's the problem. So personally, I don't believe in any religion.
Oh wow! You must choose one.
I don't believe in any religion.
Okay.
I believe in my inner voice.
Okay.
That if there is God, it is his business or my business. Is between the two of us. And God should be enough for me. You understand? Yeah. God should be enough for me.
Okay.
Let me know him or her on my terms.
Okay.
But religion tells you that no. You should let Matthew tell you what it is.
Yes.
You should let Paul tell you what it is. You should let Peter tell you what it is. Because on your own, you are not that privileged to have access to God. So that's the difference. So religion is like living other people's experiences with God.
Yes.
And spirituality is based, taking your own path. That is the path of your heart, the path of your soul. Yeah. Prioritizing it over all others.
Okay, for the sake of clarity, what will you say is the soul?
The soul.
Yeah. What do you refer to as the soul?
The soul, for me, is that part of you that expresses itself in your body.
Okay.
Is that part of you that expresses itself in your body. So you are an expression of your soul. When your soul puts everything together, it calls itself Fapempong.
Okay.
So, or let me put it another way. That which human beings call God,
yes,
which they have never seen before, or who they think is all-encompassing and beyond verbal description, is what I call the soul.
Wow.
And it is manifest in everything and everybody equally. So, for example, let me make this point clear.
Okay.
Let me use a painting.
No problem.
Look at this painting. It's a typical market scene made up of women in the market and everything.
Yes.
Okay. It could well be that this lady there may be a Christian. This lady may be a Muslim. This lady may be an agnostic or whatever. Each of them may have different faiths and different professions. When they leave the market, they go to different homes. Do you understand?
Sure.
So, yet all of them, regardless of their contestations about which religion and whatever, all of them trace their source to who? To me, the artist.
Yeah,
I am the artist.
Sure.
I am the artist who created these images. Yeah. So this is illustrated like, regardless of whatever, I am the animating force.
Yes.
I, the creator.
Yes.
I am the animating force.
Yes.
You understand?
Sure.
Behind all these women and their activities, when they die, they come back to me. You understand?
Yeah.
And then me too. On a certain level of reality, there is also me and others like me,
Sure.
who form a community, like these people form a community on canvas.
Sure.
who also are the handiwork of somebody else. And it goes on and on and on. And this I will call the soul.
Okay.
So the soul is a creative force
Okay.
that animates everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So let's go and have a look at some of your works as a painter,
Yeah.
sculptor, and then poet.
Okay. This painting, for example, is a typical market scene I painted, and I call it Tomato Haggle. It captures a moment where a woman goes to the market and the prices of tomatoes have gone up, and so she's shocked at the new price, and so she's bargaining, and a whole conversation ensues. That why is it so much? I mean, just last week I bought it for this price, and this week you. So well, it's not me. Most Ghanaians will say that, oh, it is not me. The women who bring the tomatoes, the exchange rate of the CD, and just last week they increased the price of fuel, so it affected transportation. So all these dynamics are captured in this painting. So I call it Tomato Haggle.
Okay.
Between it's between affordability and luck. Like if you are lucky, you can afford.
Yeah.
If you are not lucky, you do your stew without tomatoes.
And I will name it Food Stuff Haggle because
Yeah.
I can see
Yes. Yes. Of course. Yeah.
Sure.
It shows the watermelon, banana, garden eggs, and all other food stuff. And it shows how women. Women are at the forefront of food production in this country, and most of them struggle to put food on the table.
Okay.
Yeah. So I call this Tomato Haggle. Yeah. So this is one of my paintings I call Small Enterprise, and it captures the typical life of the average Ghanaian woman who is trying to make ends meet. And most women, even if they are professionals or whatever, they have a side job like a shop where they sell provisions and everything just to supplement their income. So this is a typical one where she has an old shop. You see everything is kind of dilapidated, yet she's happy in it because she earns an honest keep. And so she sells provisions and all these things. And then one of the other things I want to draw attention to is that if you go to most of these shops, most of the things that are sold are not produced in Ghana.
Wow.
Most of the things that are sold are not produced in Ghana, especially the shell shops or the shops in the filling stations or the supermarkets. And it is a kind of, it tells us the kind of economy we have. That we are at the end, we are at the peripheries of, the international, or in the global world, where we do not produce, we rather sell what others have produced, and these women are, so you can imagine, how long it will take for these women to make ends meet, in spite of that, they go to work every day hoping to raise enough money to supplement their income.
Cycle.
Yes, it's a cycle.
So our raw materials are sent outside.
Yeah.
And we don't manufacture almost anything.
No.
So how can we be economically strong?
It remains a mirage. It is like an ever-receding horizon. The more we approach the horizon, the further it goes away from us.
Yes.
So, and then we are kept in this cycle by hope. Before we realize we are out of the game, and our children continue where we left off, an ever-receding horizon. They never reach the target, and all this is happening year in, year out, generation after generation. I remember very well when I was about 6 years old, I asked my father, why is it that we don't have power at home, but all the cars on the roads have lights? This was when I was 6 years old. I'm almost 60, and the same situation persists. The cars on our roads have light. The homes in which we live sometimes have light. Sometimes they do not, as it was when I was a kid. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I open my tap, and what comes out of it is brown water, or greenish brown. And I said, this is the kind of service I'm paying. I remember there was a time I fetched some in a gallon. I took it to water and sewage to show them that, listen, this is what you make me pay for. Is it fair? You know, it happened during the era of Kufuor, and it was one of the things that determined how I voted, because Kufuor came up with this political slogan, Shewa Sitinana to Apapa. So I looked at the water that was coming out of my tap, and it informed me how I should vote. Many years after Kufuor, it is still happening. In fact, yesterday and this morning, I woke up, I opened my tap, the water was brown. Sometimes when I'm lucky, it will be clear. It's like, it's like what the people at Aboso can say when you buy spare parts. Lucky. If you are lucky, it will work. If you are not lucky, it will not work. You understand? So these are the things that, these are the daily life experiences of Ghanaians. And I have had friends tell me, Amarkine, you should get a certificate of survivor for living in a country like this and still being happy. I said, of course. There are many things, there are things you could be happy about, but there are also things that we could do without.
Okay.
Especially after being independent for all this while. If we are fair to all concerned, if we do things that will benefit everybody, we will say that, okay, if these people deserve this, these other people too deserve that. Okay. We should do away with this privilege system where some people are more Ghanaians than others and therefore deserve this more than that. That you can build a society with that philosophy of, with that political philosophy, where some people are more Ghanaian than others and they deserve something more than others. Yeah. We cannot do that.
Back to the art.
Yeah.
Do you take a picture and draw it, or you just draw from imagination? Because this looks to me like a real picture.
Yeah, well, what I do is that as I drive around or as I move around, I take note of the things that interest me. Okay. For example, I've been very much interested in the ordinary circumstances, yes. Like this old kind of wood and very basic things, yes. that we walk past. For me, these are the things that interest me, yes. And the struggles of women, and they don't get much from it, but it keeps them busy and they enjoy it.
Are you a feminist?
Yes, I am. I am. Okay, so this is one of my other paintings, which I call Transport and Communications. Okay. It talks about how, long before social media, came for people to, spread ideas and things like that. We were using our mummy tracks like the trotros for that purpose. You understand? So we write messages on these trotros, and wherever they went, they spread the messages. People read them, and most of the content of these messages were about things that are happening within society, people's personal experiences, and sometimes they use these as opportunities to cast insinuations. Sure. Against their enemies or perceived enemies and things like that. So I have things like, for example, politically, we have had this culture of people exonerating the president or the head of state from blame, and rather, blaming the people around him. So I have included it like it's not him, it's the people around him, trying to excuse, leadership, from being held responsible. So they come up with all sorts of things. And then I also say, the typical Ghanaian, whenever the Ghanaian tells you, I am sure, you can be sure he's not sure. So we say things like, oh, I don't know, but I'm sure. So I have captured all that.
Sure.
And then the usual thing we say, first thing Monday morning. Like I have a meeting, I have to see you, so let's meet first thing Monday morning. And then we know about two trouble, one God, when somebody has a series of problems. Sure. And then the idea of the Ghanaian concept of time. Whenever you are fixing an appointment with somebody, Ghanaians are seldom precise. So what time are we meeting? You say, okay, let's meet in the afternoon. And then you say, okay, what time in the afternoon? And then you say, okay, let's meet between 4:35. A whole range. It goes to show that we are not precise in our thinking, in our dealings with people. I mean, elsewhere you ask somebody, when are we meeting? The person will tell you, let's meet on Monday at 4:30 at my office. But typical Ghanaian will say, oh, let's meet during the week. Let's find time during the week and meet. And which day of the week is okay? Tuesday. We never deliver a full package.
Some people even say Tuesday,
maybe Tuesday, Thursday, thereabout. And you can be sure. So it also captures the Ghanaian concept of time.
Okay. And
then, of course, there's also the element of money. Our love for money. Mm-hmm. Our love for money. It's like it cuts across to the point where we prefer the dollar to the CD because the dollar has more power. And there's this joke of our cities having 6 heads, but the dollar has just 1 head. And so normally 6 heads should be better than 1. But on the contrary, other people's currencies, which has just 1 head, shows more strength than our success combined. Sure. So I capture all these sentiments in this painting.
The old soldier never dies.
The old soldier never dies. Modin Sunday. Girl Binti. So these are popular sayings, which kind of like they are social enablers. It makes life go on for us.
Very good. So for the sake of time, I don't think we can capture most of the sculptures. Mm-hmm. But can we take at least 2 poems from you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we will do that.
I'll do this poem, which I call "For All Those Times I Died." It's a poem I wrote in 2016. And I go. For all those times I died, when I made you my guide, and to my own soul I lied, and told myself you were all that I needed before I lived, and lived by your very word, against my inner voice. I lived on your life's surplus. You said it will make me thrive, and now I look back and see all the stack of years I never lived, truths I thought were lies, urges I questioned with whys, and now to hell with you. And now I'm done with you. Your beliefs you put on me, and I saw the world your way. And good you said it was. It moved the heart of God. I believed all you said, but now I find that odd. How could I have been dead to have left my life for yours? But now I do return and look back on my life and see all the moments, replay all the comments, for all those times I cried, for all those times I died. And now, back from you I take my power, my mind, my soul, and say to hell with you, and say I'm done with you. I'm safer with my lies than truths I cannot question, that people unknown to me have left behind for me. And now I leave them all, my wisdom to embrace, my fullest to learn from. For all those times I died, when I wondered why and said, only if I looked like you and had your style and grace, your hair, your skin and race, your manners, your soul, your ways. And now I look back and see all the void in all I have enjoyed and say to hell with you. Again I say to you, it's over and done with you. For all those times I died, and all the days I cried, and all the times I tried, when I waited days on end for you to be my friend and say your love to me. For all those times I died, and all those days I cried, I have you all to thank, for now I know so well how to keep away from you and make my soul my guide and live my life with pride in all I am for now. Thank you very much. I'll do a second one, which I call Ode to Consciousness. Wow. And it's a poem I wrote in 2016. How long will you go about advertising the sun, the moon, and stars, and tell everybody the sea is deep blue and clouds hang above us, that fire is hot and rain is cold, the wind blows, the plant grows, that we live here and breathe air? Tell me how long you will make this your song and insist we all sing along until we belong. You told me 6 is only 2, 4, and 2. And I found out that 2. It can also be 5 and 1, and realize yet again others say it's 3 and 3. You cautioned me to have no faith in all except 4 and 2. You disregarded my all and rejected 7 when without 1 it turned itself into 6. You told me water was liquid, and that made my heart livid, because that to me was vivid. But I know you are rigid, and sometimes even frigid. Leave me alone to my foolish ways, till its burden on my heart weighs. Then shall I know how to know for myself, and stay your conceited wisdom, and let me through bondage know my freedom. Let my ignorance birth my knowledge, that my confidence shall arise from my truth. Thank you. Then the last one, or the third one. I wrote this poem in 2015. It's called I Am a Tree. I am a tree, all stately tall, all freshly green, and this I know before I grew. I live my life merrily and happily, never for once giving thought to the day when someone kind is going to show up like a tourist with a powerful camera, stand in awe before me, take pictures, delude themselves they are making me know for the first time how beautiful and how stately and how awesome a tree I am. A day like this I never conceived, to live and await a tourist arrival, a tourist approval of who and what a tree I am. I am a tree, I span the heavens, I reach the depths, my leaves rustle happily in the wind without any hassle. They whisper in the winds messages across the distance and receive same from other lands, sun, moon, and stars, sun, water, and wind, and all the elements. All these are part of me, a part of them I know I am. We give each other the power to be, and we transform and are transformed. We never for once think big of our power, for we all well know our lives we owe one to another. I am gentle, I know my place, my roots are anchored in nature's love. I am the tree, all stately tall, all freshly green, and this I knew before I grew. Thank you. Then the last one. Yes, the last one. It's a poem I wrote in January of this year, and I call it, What If We Looked With Our Own Eyes? Could we look back and trace our discourse on religion to all the minds others lent our eyes to use in seeing our own souls? Could all the lessons we had in all our classrooms explain our obsessions in all our chat rooms, and the convictions behind our callings, and the kind of light we have had for our path? Could we be having or discussing the jihad, or finding out the transcendence of our souls upon a lotus flower, if all our classrooms had been filled with another faith other than what others inscribed in our books and on the nooks of our minds? Are we not the fruit of seeds others planted in the fertile soils of our little souls when to this expanse we landed? Could other lands be lying fallow and awaiting our seeds to root and bring forth forbidden fruit, other than the land on which others decreed our seeds should be planted? What if, I'll take that again. What if we climbed the top of our soul's tree of life and found out with clearer vision that other fruits also exist afar that taste to the soul just as sweet? What if others thought our sevens were made of 5s and 2s, other than what we vouch to be our 6s and 1s? Should we insist their 7s are different from ours and refuse to move forward towards our common 8, 9, and 10? And to what extent did the strength we got from numbers numb us from taking the road less traveled to knowing the heaven within our own souls? What shall it take us to know that we have believed? Let me take that again. What shall it take us to know that what we have believed might just be what others had wanted us to believe, And what if we realize that what we have believed might have blinded us to what we could have known? And when we chose, how free were our choices? How much of our own selves, compared to the kickback of what others had demanded of our soul, were our choices made of? What if we opened our mind's eye and realized that all along we have been sleeping in other people's dreams just because we have been looking at our souls with other people's eyes? And what if it dawned on us that what we have been told to search for had never been lost to our souls? And that if we saw our souls with our own eyes, we might just realize that all along we have been the gods that previous generations had preached to.
Wow. Ayoko.
Yeah.
What's the name of your gallery and how can people get in touch with you?
My gallery name, my studio name is Amarteifio, and I have a social media. It's paintings of Amarteifio on Facebook, and then on the same Amarteifio on social media. And my telephone number is 0244 619 6.
Wow.
And my email is amart1000@yahoo.com. AMART1000@yahoo.com.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Omangadeshi, Penisi, Opening Guerilla Nensiasa. And you feel about better to every samurai. Be a no me year film, my ye. Be a seen you have met me the account, my ye. And the catching it also. That's the best I share you. Medin the Fapempong. The Mamunia money share, and my money.